everybody. Welcome to A Space for Grace. I am your host, Ashley Grace, and welcome back to another episode. I am so glad it's Friday. I am always so glad it's Friday. Fridays are my favorite days because it's A Space for Grace Day. To start out, I do have a prayer request. If you will just continue to pray for me and Windu. We are still pretty much feeling our feelings about losing Kylo, and it would just mean the world to us if you would just continue to keep us in your thoughts and prayers. We are just trucking along together. Windu is actually joining us from now on. He will not leave my side, but I'm loving every minute of it. He is such a sweet boy, but I can tell that he is extremely sad. So just pray for him and pray for me. And that would be amazing. And I would love you all forever. This week we are going to talk about dealing with rejection. This is something that I haven't thought about in a while, but it's definitely something that I have talked about before with some of my closest people. And I'm very open about the topic because I have dealt with rejection so many times. Obviously, like I talk about breakups all the time. But I want to start out with Psalm 34:19. It says, "The righteous person faces many troubles, but the Lord comes to the rescue each time." And I think that goes so well with what's been going on in my life right now anyway, too. And I just think it's amazing that all of these verses can just relate to so many things. But definitely this one can relate to dealing with rejection. So we're just going to jump right into it. The first note that I have here is rejection is not a projection of your future. And I feel like I struggled with that so hard whenever I was dealing with my rejection. And the thing about it is that Satan loves to take our rejections and twist it into an irrational fear that God doesn't really have a plan for you. And I got a story for y'all. So in 2017 is when I graduated high school. And when I graduated high school, I had my whole life planned out. Let me tell you, I had a plan that I would go to X-ray school. I would, do the 2 years of X-ray school, graduate. I would move to Knoxville, get married, get a job in Knoxville, have a steady income, and be set for life. God had other plans for me. 2017, I did not get into the radiology program, and I felt so much rejection for that. But I know that God had so many plans for me looking back. I still got into the radiology program the following year, and I still continued with my plans. I did not give up on that. I was a stubborn girl, and I fought against God so much, and until I couldn't fight anymore. I called off the wedding a couple years later, and I was to the point where I knew that God had better things for me, and I knew I had to follow God and not a boy. So, that was an irrational fear being rejected from that program because, I thought I had my whole life planned out, and getting that taken away in an instant was like, oh my gosh, like all of my plans are just going down the drain now. But that wasn't the truth. Like God had my back, And he was definitely making plans for me along the way without me even realizing it. So some things that I have written down that has helped me with my rejection is identifying the pain and rejection. And once you identify that pain and rejection, you're more in tune with yourself. You're realizing where that pain comes from. Like, I knew in my heart I was hurt because I felt like I was failing somebody. I felt like I was failing my future family because I wasn't going to be able to provide for them. And that was incorrect. But the one thing that helped me the most was prayer. Pray for strength and do not let it pull you into a hole. Because once you go through a spout of rejection, you can sit there and dwell on that for as long as you want to, and you will just get put in a hole. You will dig yourself a hole deeper and deeper and deeper, and the more you dig, the harder it's going to get to come out of it. And I feel like that's where I was until I started praying. And the reason I say to pray is because once you start praying, you're going to start seeing praises. And then you'll be able to replace that negativity that you once had with those praises. And so when you're in a spout of rejection and you're going through rejection and you're just like down on yourself, like telling yourself that you're no good and you're never going to be good enough and you're failing everything and you're failing your family and all of this other things that like the devil can tell you, and the enemy can have a seat next to you and just remind you all these things of like where you went wrong in the past, even though that those things led you to like where you are today. I know that God just, I don't know. It's hard to, when you're going through all of that, you begin to get so negative. When you're dealing with that rejection, you're dealing with all of these negative thoughts within yourself. Because you do feel all of these negative feelings, you're letting that enemy have a seat at your table, and you're letting the enemy tell you that you're not good enough, and you start believing that. So you're going to sit there and you're going to pick yourself apart. You're going to sit there and you're going to tell yourself that you are not good enough, that you aren't beautiful, that you're not good looking, that you are not, I don't even know, that you're just not, you're not smart enough. You're not able to do this or that. Like, it's just anything that you could possibly think of. It is not going to be able to happen for you, because that's what the enemy does. The enemy sits there and he lets you dwell in the negativity. But when you start praying, that brings so much positive light into your life. When you start praying for little small things. I remember when I started praying, I prayed, Lord, please just give me the strength to get out of bed this morning. Or Lord, please give me the strength to get out of bed in the morning and be able to make my bed. Because I don't know about y'all, but I feel like I have my life put together if my bed is made. Getting into a bed that is made makes me feel like I am a queen. I don't know why. Makes me feel like I have all of my stuff together, like I'm not disorganized. But I would pray that prayer and I would have that energy in the morning to be able to make my bed. And that's not something that I had before. I was struggling to get out of bed and brush my teeth and brush my hair. And I would just throw on some yoga pants and a sweatshirt. And I know I still do that. Sorry, Dawn. But, it's out of a different mindset. Like, I threw on clothes to go to work to throw on clothes. I didn't want to try. I didn't want to think about what I had to wear. I didn't want to think about what I had to put on my body. I didn't want to think about having to get ready. I just wanted to wake up and go, because I was living a life of routine. And that's what's really hard, is once you get into a routine and that routine starts to break, you feel like your world's falling apart. But really, what if that routine needs to break? Because for me, that routine needed to break. I am one person that does not like change whatsoever. And that's why dealing with rejection is so hard with me, or for me. Because most likely when rejection happens, it causes a lot of change. And change is really hard for me to handle, but change is so good. And that's something that I've learned this year, that allowing change to happen in your life is growth. And like saying that out loud is just so, it kind of makes me emotional, because I remember that I used to have to have everything planned out. And if I made plans and those plans didn't work out, I would be sick to my stomach. And if I had plans and I didn't want to go to those plans, and I had already told somebody that I would go and I didn't end up wanting to go, I would cancel on them, and I would feel like the most horrible person. I would make up some excuse on why I couldn't go so I could get out of it. And that is terrible, because most likely it was something that was out of my routine, and that's not good. But prayer helps with that change. Prayer helps with the little changes that need to happen. Because once you start praying for the little changes, those prayers turn into praises. Because when those praises start happening, you will start thinking like, okay, well, God did that for me. I wonder what else he could do for me. And you start praying for a little bit bigger thing. And once you start praying for a little bit bigger thing, you'll see that God will answer that bigger thing. And that will turn into a praise. And then you'll start with an even bigger thing. And it's just a domino effect. And you will learn that God has your back. And when I say that, it goes into point number 2. God is protecting you. When you're dealing with rejection, that rejection probably happened because God is protecting you. Now, I know in my moments of heartbreak and in my moments of rejection that I didn't see it in those moments. And I didn't see it until down the road, when I look back and I'm able to identify things that were wrong and could have gone wrong. And I wouldn't have been able to identify those things if I didn't have that rejection. I always try to tell myself that God's plan is so much greater than mine, because when rejection happens, you don't really know what to tell yourself. And sometimes you don't even know what to tell other people when they're dealing with rejection either. And I think that's really hard for both people. Like, a lot of people didn't understand or didn't know what to say to me whenever I was dealing with the things that I had to deal with that involved rejection. And that was hard on me because no one could help me and I needed somebody to tell me what I needed to do. But also, I know that they were hurting because they couldn't help me. They couldn't tell me what I should do. But there is nothing like being on the other side of the rejection, growing out of that rejection, becoming such a more positive light, looking back onto what you came out of and being like, God was protecting me from that. Because He has done that so much in my life that honestly, I'm just so thankful. Because having somebody protect me at all times, looking out for me at all times, closing doors because He hears conversations that I don't hear at all times is amazing. That's just something that I will never be able to get over. And then we go into number 3. Rejection is never permanent. You won't feel the pain of the rejection forever because one day you will be on the other side. One day you will be looking back into the life of your rejection and being like, God got me out of it. God was protecting me. You'll be so much stronger that you'll be like, wow, God did that for me. And what you can do with that is you can help somebody else. And I feel like that's why I started my podcast, is because I dealt with so much hard things in my life and no one knew what to tell me in those moments and no one knew what to share with me in those moments. And I didn't know exactly where to go or who to turn to or where to find scripture to help me out. And I feel like I'm now at the point where I can share the things that I went through to help other people. And once that rejection is behind you and you are at your healing point, you'll be able to share your story and help somebody out. Every day is a new battle. You have to realize that. And it's not going to be easy to get through the rejection. You do have to realize that. I'm not saying that it will be easy. I'm not saying that it'll be a fast thing that you'll get through. But what I'm saying is that God will take care of you, and that one day you will wake up and realize that you are okay, and that God has a beautiful life planned out for you, and that God tells us in Psalm 34:19 that He delivers us from all of our troubles, not just some of them, all of them. And I think that speaks volumes to all of us, because I think some of us think that God picks and chooses what He helps us battle, and that's not true. And I only think that because I've been there. I've always thought that, this is too big for God to handle. And that is just the enemy telling me and trying to get me as far away from God as possible. And it worked for a really long time, like it really had me questioning my faith, and that's such a scary time. But, you have to remind yourself that God will take care of you. And like Psalm 34:19 says, the righteous person faces many troubles, but the Lord comes to the rescue each time. And I don't know, like it's just a blessing to have that. And having that in your life at all times, 24/7, in the middle of the night, early in the morning, wake up from a bad dream and you're feeling that rejection again, He's right there by your side. And He is so close to you. He is closer than you think He is to you. And I think we all need to remember that. But that is all that I have for you today. I am loving sitting down and talking with you all each week. It has really helped me grow, and I really want some feedback. I know I've gotten some feedback from some of my really close friends, and y'all don't know, but they sometimes pick out our topics. So if you all, as listeners, have any topics that you would love to hear, whether it's a Bible story or anything like that, please let me know. My DMs are always open. You can find my Instagram at a space for grace, and that is at a space for _grace_. And then you can also message my personal account, which is at Mac_18_. But yeah, I would love to hear from you all and see what you all think and see what you all want to hear about next. I am in the works of getting us a couch. We will have a couch here instead of my chair. This whole area is going to be changed up a little bit so we can have some guests on the pod. And hopefully we're going to get some really exciting conversations going on about different things. And I'm very excited to share all of that with you all. I cannot wait to see where A Space for Grace comes and goes to. And I'm just so thankful for all the support that you all have given me over the past month and a half, which is crazy. It's crazy that time is flying by like it is, but I am forever grateful for all of you all. And I think that you all are so special. So I just want you all to remember that I love you and Jesus loves you too. Bye.